Hey everybody, it's Asha and I'm back again here on the Independent Educators Lounge with another thought for all of us teachers to consider. Something that's been sitting on my mind and my heart is bravery. Bravery on the part of unexpected people. There are two things that have happened in the news in this past week or two that I want to bring into our attention, not as a source for necessarily discussing politics, but primarily as a source for discussing the role of inspiration, okay, from unlikely people. We as teachers oftentimes have been typecasted, put into a box, kind of put into this space of you can count on them to be neutral. You can count on them to be the safe space, right? Safe spaces are necessary and important features, but sometimes teachers also are brave and they have to be noted for their bravery, right? Whether that be the topic you're teaching in your classroom or whether that be the willingness to go to bat for a student who a lot of people may have counted out, right? Teachers are also brave. And so I wanted to point to a couple of examples of bravery in our news for the last couple of weeks that I think we should talk about and unpack, right? As we start thinking about why gather for a teacher town hall, right? Why should we all come together? Well, it's because right now is the moment to band together in our country. Those who are banding together are successful in this moment. And they're unusually successful in this moment, right? We've seen that for both forces of positive and negative energy, okay? So let me get into the first example. The first example I want to unpack is Coachella. Many of you may have picked up on this, but Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez did something that no politician has ever done. So they've been going on a tour, right? Gathering people for rallies, town halls, what have you, like many politicians have. And they went to Coachella. For those of you who don't know what Coachella is, that is one of the biggest music festivals, live music festivals in the country. And it takes place out west. And it takes place in the desert and it attracts so many people, so many big names in the music industry. It's a huge audience, okay? So here is what AOC and Bernie Sanders did. They went to this pop music space. And they went there on their tour, which is advocating against the oligarchy, right? Now, whether you agree with their labeling of our current presidential administration as oligarchy or not, what they did was exhibit an extraordinary amount of bravery, okay? For those of you who don't know, Bernie Sanders is 83 years old. He's 83 years old. AOC is barely in her 30s, okay? So let's talk about the unlikelihood that one, these two would even be on the same page. Let's start there. The unlikelihood that someone in a totally different generation from another time would have so much in common, right? That he would go on tour with a woman who's very much of this generation, of the moment, very millennial in her approach, okay? They have found common ground, gathered, okay, been on the same side in a lot of spaces. They've also departed politically, but they have come together to organize and get the country riled up. And now they are going from state to state, these unlikely places like Utah, right? And they're gathering big crowds, right? Two unlikely individuals coming together, united behind one message, and going to unusual places that people have pretty much counted the Democratic Party politicians out of. Okay, I just want to name it. That's what's going on right now. And we have a lot to draw from that inspiration, right? We as teachers, we may form unlikely alliances. Many of us already have that skill set. How many teachers have paired with a scientist in a research lab, right? Maybe if you're in Atlanta, maybe you went up to the CDC, right? And you're pairing with somebody who may or may not cleanly fit into your curriculum, but there's a connection, right? And thus there's learning. And you just never know, something beautiful has arisen. We've seen this time and time again with teachers. We step outside of the boundaries drawn for us to make our classrooms richer spaces for a learning experience, okay? That is exactly what we can look to what AOC and Bernie Sanders have done right now in this moment in our country. Second example I want to bring up is Harvard University. Now, There has been a general backlash against Ivy League institutions for their passivity in the face of a lot of turbulence, in the face of understanding why is it that affirmative action has changed? Why are we not taking DEI more seriously? Why are we still doing legacy admissions? All of these different things that have circulated for the last several years, okay? And these historically exclusive spaces, right? Harvard has decided, out of many considerations, their consideration is because, Donald Trump withholding federal funding from their budgets, right, for research and various projects, right, that is an infringement on their constitutional rights to free speech as a private institution, right? So there's the legal argument. But then there's the argument that I think has more relevance to what we're talking about here today, which is really the will to stand up for convictions and values that are important to a particular space. I don't know how many of us as teachers can safely say the schools we work for unabashedly stand by the values that the space hopes to be. Perhaps you work at a private school and a funder comes in and all of a sudden institutional priorities shift. Perhaps you work at a public school and you get a new principal, and that one principal has so much power that it totally disrupts what the school has been, right? As an identity, this one leader may have come in and changed up a lot. So I say all this to say, Harvard and AOC and Bernie Sanders have taught us that these are unusual times. They've showed us that what was 10 years ago may not even apply today. So what I'm asking you to do is consider yourself part of this movement of people doing unlikely things, unlikely people doing unlikely things, right? When we go back to the core of who teachers are, what our job is supposed to be, we are supposed to be the facilitators. We're supposed to be the ones modeling what citizenship means to our students. We are raising America's youth, right? Kids spend just as much time with us in their classrooms as they spend outside of their classrooms, right? These kids go home, they're with their parents, most of that time is sleeping, and yet they spend hours and hours with us. So the question is, what are we doing to model bravery, right? It's one thing to see it out in the news, out in the world, far away, right? In Boston and California, but what are you doing in your particular setting? Because I promise you, in the same way that local government impacts our everyday lives more than the federal government impacts our everyday lives, what kids receive in the classroom affects their everyday life more than what they're watching on the news. Now that may be up for debate, but I'm here to settle it. And I'm calling on you as a teacher to gather with us. Let's collaborate. Let's be stronger together. Okay? So join us for the Teacher Town Hall. It is coming up soon. If you have not already subscribed to the page, please do. It is a joy to see you all again, and I'll talk to you soon.